Chiang, victim of a ruse. Chu Yu was very annoyed by the words of Chuko Chin, and a fierce hatred for K. Ming took root in his heart. He nourished a secret resolve to make away with him. He continued his preparations for war, and when the men were all mustered and ready, he went in for a farewell interview with his lord. "You go on first, noble sir," said Sun Chiang. "I will then march to support you." Chu Yu took his leave and then, with Chiang Pu and Lu Su, marched out with the army. He invited K. Ming to accompany the expedition, and when he cheerfully accepted, the four embarked in the same ship. They set sail, and the flotilla made for TsʻAo. About 60 li from Three River mouths, the fleet anchored near the shore, and Chu Yu built a stockade on the bank near the middle of their line with the West Hills as a support. Other camps were made near his. K. Ming, however, took up his quarters in a small ship. When the camp dispositions were complete, Chu Yu sent to request K. Ming to come and give him advice. He came, and after the salutations were ended, Chu Yu said, "TsʻAo thought he had fewer troops than Yuan Shao, nevertheless overcame him because he followed the advice given by Su Yu to destroy his supplies. Now TsʻAo has over 80 legions while I have but 5 or 6. In order to defeat him, his supplies must be destroyed first. I have found out that the main depot is at Chudi Hill. As you have lived hereabout, you know the topography quite well, and I wish to entrust the task of cutting off supplies to you and your colleagues Quan Yu, Chang Fei, and Ko Yun. I will assist you with a company. I wish you to start without delay. In this way we can best serve our masters." K. Ming saw through this at once. He thought to himself, "This is a ruse in revenge for my not having been persuaded to enter the service of Wu. If I refuse, I shall be laughed at. So I will do as he asks and trust to find some means of deliverance from the evil he intends." Therefore he accepted the task with alacrity, much to the joy of Chu Yu. After the leader of the expedition had taken his leave, Lu Su went to Chu Yu secretly and said, "Why have you set him this task?" "Because I wish to compass his death without appearing ridiculous. I hope to get him killed by the hand of TsʻAo and prevent his doing further mischief." Lu Su left and went to see K. Ming to find out if he suspected anything. He found him looking quite unconcerned and getting the soldiers ready to march. Unable to hold his tongue, however, he put a tentative question. "Do you think this expedition will succeed?" K. Ming laughingly replied, "I am an adept at all sorts of fighting with foot, horse, and chariots on land and on the water. There is no doubt of my success. I am not like you and your friend, only capable in one direction." "What do you mean by our being capable only in one direction?" said Lu Su. "I have heard the street boys in your country singing. To lay an ambush, hold a pass, Lu Su is the man to choose. But when you on the water fight, Chu Yu is the man to use. You are only fit for ambushes and guarding passes on land, just as he only understands fighting on the water." Lu Su carried this story to Chu Yu, which only incensed him the more against K. Ming. "How dare he flout me, saying I cannot fight a land battle? I will not let him go. I will go myself with a legion and cut off TsʻAo's supplies." Lu Su went back and told this to K. Ming, who smiled and said, "He only wanted me to go on this expedition because he wanted TsʻAo to kill me. And so I teased him a little. But he cannot bear that. Now is the critical moment, and the Marquis Wu and my master must act in harmony if we are to succeed." If each one tries to harm the other, the whole scheme will fail. TsʻAo is no fool, and it is a usual thing with him to attack an enemy through his supplies. Do you not think he has already taken double precautions against any surprise of his own depot? If Chu Yu tries, he will be taken prisoner. What he ought to do is to bring about a decisive naval battle, whereby to dishearten the northern men, and then find some other means to defeat them utterly. If you could persuade him what was his best course, it would be well. Without loss of time, Lu Su went to Chu Yu to relate what Ming had told him. Chu shook his head when he heard it and beat the ground with his foot, saying, "This man is far too clever. He beats me 50-1. He will have to be done away with, or my country will suffer." Said Lu Su, "This is the moment to use men. You must think of the country's good first of all. When once TsʻAo is defeated, you may do as you please." Chu had to confess the reasonableness of this. It is now time to speak of Liu Pei. He had ordered his nephew Liu Cixi to hold Chiang while he and the bulk of the army returned to Hsiaku. Thence he saw the opposite bank thick with banners and flags, and glittering with every kind of arms and armor. He knew then that the expedition from Wu had started, so he moved all his force from Chiangxia to Fangkou. Then he assembled his officers and said to them, "Ming went to Wu some time ago, and no word has come from him, so I know not how the business stands. Will anyone volunteer to go to find out?" "I will go," said Mai Chu. So presents were prepared and gifts of flesh and wine, and Mai Chu prepared to journey to Wu on the pretext of offering a congratulatory feast to the army. Mai Chu set out in a small ship and went down river. He stopped opposite the camp, and the soldiers reported his arrival to Chu Yu, who ordered him to be brought in. Mai Chu bowed low and expressed the respect which Liu Pei had for Chu Yu, and offered the various gifts. The ceremony of reception was followed by a banquet in honor of Mai Chu. Mai said, "Ming has been here a long time, and I desire that he may return with me. Ming is making plans with me, and I could not let him return," said Chu Yu. "I also wish to see Liu Pei that we may make joint plans, but when one is at the head of a great army, one cannot get away even for a moment. If your master would only come here, it would be very gracious on his part." Mai Chu agreed that Liu Pei might come, and presently took his leave. Then Lu Su asked Chu Yu the reason for his desiring Liu Pei to come. "Liu Yuantair is the one bold and dangerous man, and must be removed. I am taking this opportunity to persuade him to come, and when he shall be slain, a great danger will cease to threaten our country." Lu Su tried to dissuade him from this scheme, but Chu Yu was deaf to all he said. He even issued orders for 50 executioners to be ready to hide within the lining of his tent if Liu Pei decided to come, and arranged to drop a cup as a signal for them to fall on and slay him. Mai Chu returned and told Liu Pei that his presence was desired by Chu Yu. Suspecting nothing, Liu Pei at once ordered them to prepare a fast vessel to take him without loss of time. Kuan Yu was opposed to his going, saying that Chu Yu was artful and treacherous, and there was no news from Ming. Yuantair replied, "I have joined my forces to theirs in this attack on our common enemy. If Chu Yu wishes to see me and I refuse to go, it is a betrayal. Nothing will succeed if both sides nourish suspicions. If you have finally decided to go, then will I go with you," said Kuan Yu. "And I also," cried Chang Fei. But Yuantair said, "Let Kuan Yu come with me while you and Ko Yun keep guard. Qin Yung will hold Ocean. I shall not be away long." So leaving these orders, Liu Pei embarked with his brother on a small boat. The escort did not exceed a score. The light craft traveled very quickly down the river. Liu Pei rejoiced greatly at the sight of the war vessels in tiers by the bank, the soldiers in their breastplates, and all the pomp and panoply of war. All was in excellent order. As soon as he arrived, the guards ran to tell Chu Yu. "How many ships has he?" asked Chu. They replied, "Only one, and the escort is only about a score." "His fate is sealed," said Chu Yu. He sent for the executioners and placed them in hiding between the outer and inner tents, and when all was arranged for the assassination he contemplated, he went out to receive his visitor. Liu Pei came with his brother and escort into the midst of the army to the commander's tent. After the salutations, Chu Yu wished Liu Pei to take the upper seat, but he declined, saying, "General, you are famous through all the country, while I am a nobody. Do not overwhelm me with too great deference." So they took the positions of simple friends, and refreshments were brought in. Now by chance Ungming came on shore and heard that his master had arrived and was with the commander-in-chief. The news gave him a great shock, and he said to himself, "What is to be done now?" He made his way to the reception tent and stole a look therein. He saw murder written on Chu Yu's countenance and noted the assassins hidden within the walls of the tent. Then he got a look at Liu Pei, who was laughing and talking quite unconcernedly. But when he noticed the redoubtable figure of Kuan Yu near his master's side, he became quite calm and contented. "No danger," said he, and he went away to the river bank to await the end of the interview. Meanwhile, the banquet of welcome proceeded. After the wine had gone around several times, Chu Yu picked up a cup to give the signal agreed upon. But at that moment, he saw so fierce a look upon the face of the trusty henchman who stood, sword in hand, behind his guest, that he hesitated and hastily asked who he was. "That is my brother Kuan Yun Chiang," replied Yuan Ter. Chu Yu, quite startled, said, "Is he the slayer of Yen Liang and Wen Chu?" "Exactly, he it is," replied Liu Pei. The sweat of fear broke out all over Chu Yu's body and trickled down his back. Then he poured out a cup of wine and presented it to Kuan Yu. Just then Lu Su came in, and Yuan Ter said to him, "Where is Ungming? I would trouble you to ask him to come." "Wait till we have defeated TsʻAo," said Chu Yu, "then you shall see him." Yuan Ter dared not repeat his request, but Kuan Yu gave him a meaning look which Yuan Ter understood and rose, saying, "I would take leave now. I will come again to congratulate you when the enemy has been defeated and your success shall be complete." Chu Yu did not press him to remain, but escorted him to the great gates of the camp, and Yuan Ter left. When he reached the river bank, they found Ungming awaiting them in their boat. Yuan Ter was exceedingly pleased, but Ungming said, "Sir, do you know in how great danger you were today?" Suddenly sobered, Yuan Ter said, "No, I did not think of danger." "If Yun Chiang had not been there, you would have been killed," said Ungming. Yuan Ter, after a moment's reflection, saw that it was true. He begged Ungming to return with him to Fanchiang, but he refused. "I am quite safe," said he. "Although I am living in the tiger's mouth, I am as steady as Mount Ti. Now, my lord, return and prepare your ships and men. On the 20th day of the 11th month send Ko Yun with a small ship to the south bank to wait for me. Be sure there is no miscarriage." "What are your intentions?" said Yuan Ter. "When the southeast wind begins, I shall have to return." Yuan Ter would have questioned him further, but Ungming pressed him to go. So the boat started up river again while Ungming returned to his temporary lodging. The boat had not proceeded far when appeared a small fleet sweeping down with the current, and in the prow of the leading vessel stood a tall figure armed with a spear. It was Chiang Fei, who had come down fearing lest his brother might be in some difficulty from which the strong arm of Kuan Yu might even be insufficient to rescue him. Of the return of the three brothers nothing will be said. After Chu Yu, having escorted Yuan Ter to the gate of his camp, had returned to his quarters, Lu Su soon came to see him. "When you had cajoled Yuan Ter into coming, why did you not carry out your plan?" asked Lu. "Because of that Kuan Yu. He is a very tiger, and he never left his brother for a moment. If anything had been attempted, he would certainly have had my life." Lu Su knew that he spoke the truth. Then suddenly they announced a messenger with a letter from TsʻAo. TsʻAo. Chu Yu ordered them to bring him in and took the letter. But when he saw the superscription, the first minister of Han to Commander-in-Chief Chu, he fell into a frenzy of rage, tore the letter to fragments, and threw them on the ground. "To death with this fellow," cried he. "When two countries are at war, their emissaries are not slain," said Lu. "Messengers are slain to show one's dignity and independence," replied Chu. The unhappy bearer of the letter was decapitated, and his head sent back to TsʻAo by the hands of his escort. Chu Yu then decided to move. The van under Kan Ning was to advance, supported by 2 wings. Chu Yu would lead the remainder in support. The next morning the early meal was eaten in the 4th watch, and the ships got under way in the 5th with a great beating of drums. TsʻAo was greatly angered when he heard that his letter had been torn to fragments, and he resolved to attack forthwith. His advance was led by Mao and others of the Qingqiu officers who had joined his side. He went as hastily as possible to the meeting of the 3 rivers and saw the ships of Wu sailing up. In the bow of the foremost ship stood a fine figure of a warrior who cried, "I am Kan Ning. I challenge anyone to combat." Mao sent his young brother to accept the challenge, but as his ship approached, Kan Ning shot an arrow and soon fell. Kan Ning pressed forward, his crossbowmen keeping up a heavy discharge which TsʻAo's men could not stand. The wings also joined in. TsʻAo's men, being mostly from the dry plains of the north, did not know how to fight effectually on water, and the southern ships had the battle all their own way. The slaughter was very great. However, after a contest lasting till afternoon, Chu Yu thought it more prudent, in view of the superior numbers of his enemy, not to risk further the advantage he had gained. So he beat the gongs as the signal to cease battle and recall the ships. TsʻAo was worsted, but his ships returned to the bank, where a camp was made and order was restored. TsʻAo sent for his defeated leaders and reproached them, saying, "You did not do your best. You let an inferior force overcome you." Mao defended himself, saying, "The Qingqiu Marines have not been exercised for a long time, and the others have never been trained for naval warfare at all. A naval camp must be instituted, the northern men trained and the Qingqiu men drilled. When they have been made efficient, they will win victories. If you know what should be done, why have you not done it?" said TsʻAo. "What is the use of telling me this? Get to work." So Mao and Chiang Yun organized a naval camp on the riverbank. They established 24 water gates, with the large ships outside as a sort of rampart, and under their protection the smaller ships went to and fro freely. At night, when the lanterns and torches were lit, the very sky was illuminated, and the water shone red with the glare. On land, the smoke of the campfires could be traced for 300 li without a break. Chu Yu returned to camp and feasted his victorious fighting men. A messenger bore the joyful tidings of victory to his master in Wu. When night fell, Chu Yu went up to the summit of one of the hills and looked out over the long line of bright lights stretching toward the west, showing the extent of the enemy's camp. He said nothing, but a great fear came in upon him. Next day Chu Yu decided that he would go in person to find out the strength of the enemy. So he bade them prepare a small squadron which he manned with strong, hardy men armed with powerful bows and stiff crossbows. He also placed musicians on each ship. They set sail and started up the stream. When they got opposite TsʻAo's camp, the heavy stones that served as anchors were dropped, and the drums and trumpets began, while Chu Yu scanned the enemy's naval camp. What he saw gave him no satisfaction, for everything was most admirable. He inquired whether anyone knew the names of the admirals, and they told him Ts'Ao and Chiang. "They have lived in our country a long time," said he, "and are thoroughly experienced in naval warfare. I must find some means of removing them before I can effect anything." Meanwhile, on shore, the sentinels had told TsʻAo that the enemy craft were spying upon them, and he ordered out some ships to capture the spies. Chu saw the commotion on shore and hastily gave the order to unmoor and sail downstream. The squadron at once got under way and scattered. To and fro went the oars, and each ship seemed to fly. Before TsʻAo's ships could get out after them, they were all far away. TsʻAo's ships took up the chase, but soon saw pursuit was useless. They returned and reported their failure. Again TsʻAo found fault with his officers and said, "The other day you lost a battle and the soldiers were greatly dispirited. Now the enemy have spied out our camp. What can be done?" In eager response to his question, one stepped out saying, "When I was a youth, Chu and I were fellow students and pledged friends. My 3-inch tongue is still good, and I will go over and persuade him to surrender." TsʻAo, rejoiced to find so speedy a solution, looked at the speaker. It was Chiang of Chiang, one of the secretary staff in the camp. "Are you a good friend of Chu's?" said TsʻAo. "Rest contented, O minister," replied Kan. "If I only get on the other side of the river, I shall succeed." "What preparations are necessary?" asked TsʻAo. "Just a youth as my servant and a couple of rowers, nothing else." TsʻAo offered him wine, wished him success, and sent him on his way. Clad in a simple white robe and seated in his little craft, the messenger reached Chu's camp and bade the men say that an old friend Chiang wished to see him. The commander was in his tent at a council when the message came, and he laughed as he said to those about him, "A guest is coming." Then he whispered certain instructions in the ear of each one of them, and they went out to await his arrival. Chu received his friend in full ceremonial garb. A crowd of officers in rich silken robes were about him. The guest appeared, his sole attendant a lad dressed in a simple blue gown. He bore himself proudly as he advanced, and Chu made a low obeisance. "You have been well, I hope, since last we met," said Chiang. "You have wandered far and suffered much in this task of emissary in the TsʻAo cause," said Chu. "I have not seen you for a very long time," said the envoy, much taken aback, "and I came to visit you for the sake of old times. Why do you call me an emissary for the TsʻAo cause? Though I am not so clever a musician as Shi Kuang, yet I can comprehend the thought behind the music," replied Chu. "As you choose to treat your old friend like this, I think I will take my leave," said Chiang. Chu laughed again and taking Kan by the arm said, "Well, I feared you might be coming on his behalf to try to persuade me. But if this is not your intention, you need not go away so hastily." So they too entered the tent, and when they had exchanged salutes and were seated as friends, Chu bade them call his officers that he might introduce them. They soon appeared civil and military officials, all dressed in their best. The military officers were clad in glittering silver armor, and the staff looked very imposing as they stood ranged in 2 lines. The visitor was introduced to them all. Presently a banquet was spread, and while they feasted, the musicians played songs of victory and the wine circulated merrily. Under its mellowing influence, Chu's reserve seemed to thaw, and he said, "He is an old fellow student of mine, and we are pledged friends. Though he has arrived here from the north, he is no artful pleader, so you need not be afraid of him." Then he took off the sword which he wore as commander-in-chief and handed it to TsʻAo, saying, "You take this and wear it for the day as master of the feast. This day we meet only as friends, and if anyone shall begin a discussion of the questions at issue between TsʻAo and our country, just slay him." TsʻAo took the sword and seated himself in his place. The guest was not a little overcome, but he said no word. Chu Yu said, "Since I assumed command, I have tasted no drop of wine, but today, as an old friend is present and there is no reason to fear him, I am going to drink freely." So saying, he quaffed a huge goblet and laughed loudly. The rhinoceros cups went swiftly round from guest to guest till all were half drunk. Then Chu Yu, laying hold of the guest's hand, led him outside the tent. The guards who stood around all braced themselves up and seized their weapons. "Do you not think my soldiers a fine lot of fellows?" said Chu. "Strong as bears and bold as tigers," replied Chiang. Then Chu Yu led him to the rear of the tent, whence he saw the grain and forage piled up in mountainous heaps. "Do you not think I have a fairly good store of grain and forage? It is quite true, as I have heard, that your men are brave and your supplies ample." Chu Yu pretended to be quite intoxicated and went on, "When you and I were students together, we never looked forward to a day like this, did we? For a genius like you it is nothing extraordinary," said the guest. Chu Yu again seized his hand and they sat down. When a really great man has found his proper lord, then, in his service, he relies upon the right feeling between prince and minister outside, and at home he is firm in the kindly feeling of relatives. His words must be obeyed, his plans must be followed out. He is independent of good or evil fortune. He takes as his models such men as Su Chiang, Chiang, Lu Chia and Lai Shang, so that they seem to live again. His words pour forth like a rushing river. His tongue is as a sharp sword. Is it possible to move such as I am? He burst into a loud laugh as he finished, and Chiang Can's face had become clay-colored. Chu Yu then led his guest back into the tent, and again they fell to drinking. Presently he pointed to the others at table and said, "These are all the best and bravest of the land of Wu. One might call this the meeting of heroes." They drank on till daylight failed and continued after lamps had been lit. Chu Yu even gave an exhibition of swordplay and sang this song: "When a man is in the world, oh, he ought to do his best. And when he's done his best, oh, he ought to have his rest. And when I have my rest, oh, I'll quaff my wine with zest. And when I'm drunk as drunk can be, I'll sing the madman's litany." A burst of applause greeted the song. By this time it was getting late and the guest begged to be excused. "The wine is too much for me," said he. His host bade them clear the table, and as all the others left, Chu Yu said, "It is many a day since I shared a couch with my friend, but we will do so tonight." Putting on the appearance of irresponsible intoxication, he led Chiang into the tent and they went to bed. Chu Yu simply fell, all dressed as he was, and lay there emitting uncouth grunts and groans, so that to the guest's sleep was impossible. He lay and listened to the various camp noises without and his host's thunderous snores within. About the second watch he rose and looked at his friend by the dim light of the small lamp. He also saw on the table a heap of papers, and looking at them furtively, saw they were letters. Among them he saw one marked as coming from Chang Yun and TsʻAo. He read it, and this is what it said: "We surrendered to TsʻAo, not for the sake of pay, but under stress of circumstances. Now we have fooled these northern soldiers into admitting us to their camp, but as soon as occasion offers, we mean to have the rebel's head to offer as a sacrifice to your banner. From time to time, there will be reports as occasion serve, but you may trust us. This is our humble reply to your letter." Those two were connected with Wu in the beginning, thought Chiang, so he secreted the letter in his dress and began to examine the others. But at that moment, Chu Yu turned over, and so Can hastily blew out the light and went to his couch. Chu Yu was muttering as he lay there, and his guest, carefully listening, made out, "Friend, I am going to let you see TsʻAo's head in a day or two." Chiang hastily made some reply to lead on his host to say more. Then came, "Wait a few days, you will see TsʻAo's head." The old wretch. Chiang tried to question him as to what he meant, but Chu Yu was fast asleep and seemed to hear nothing. Chiang lay there on his couch wide awake till the fourth watch was beating. Then someone came in, saying, "General, are you awake?" At that moment, as if suddenly awakened from the deepest slumber, Chu Yu started up and said, "Who is this on the couch?" The voice replied, "Do you not remember, General? You asked your old friend to stay the night with you. It is he, of course." "I drank too much last night," said Chu Yu in a regretful tone, "and I forgot. I seldom indulge to excess and am not used to it. Perhaps I said many things I ought not." The voice went on, "A man has arrived from the north." "Speak lower," said Chu Yu, and turning toward the sleeper he called him by name. But Chiang affected to be sound asleep and made no sign. Chu Yu crept out of the tent, while Kan listened with all his ears. He heard the man say, "Chiang and TsʻAo, the two commanders, have come." But listening as he did with straining ears, he could not make out what followed. Soon after Chu Yu re-entered and again called out his companion's name. But no reply came, for Chiang was pretending to be in the deepest slumber and to hear nothing. Then Chu Yu undressed and went to bed. As Chiang lay awake, he remembered that Chu Yu was known to be meticulously careful in affairs, and if in the morning he found that a letter had disappeared, he would certainly slay the offender. So he lay there till near daylight and then called out to his host. Getting no reply, he rose, dressed and stole out of the tent. Then he called his servant and made for the camp gate. "Whither are you going, sir?" said the watchman at the gate. "I fear I am in the way here," replied Kan, "and so I have taken leave of the general for a time, so do not stop me." He found his way to the river bank and re-embarked. Then, with flying oars, he hastened back to TsʻAo's camp. When he arrived, TsʻAo asked at once how he had sped, and he had to acknowledge failure. "Chu Yu is very clever and perfectly high-minded," said he. "Nothing that I could say moved him in the least." "Your failure makes me look ridiculous," said TsʻAo. "Well, if I did not win over Chu Yu, I found out something for you. Send away these people, and I will tell you," said Chiang. The servants were dismissed, and then Chiang produced the letter he had stolen from Chu Yu's tent. He gave it to TsʻAo. TsʻAo was very angry and sent for the two at once. As soon as they appeared, he said, "I want you two to attack." TsʻAo replied, "But the men are not yet sufficiently trained." "The men will be well enough trained when you have sent my head to Chu Yu, eh?" Both officers were dumbfounded, having not the least idea what this meant. They remained silent, for they had nothing to say. TsʻAo bade the executioners lead them away to instant death. In a short time their heads were produced. By this time TsʻAo had thought over the matter, and it dawned upon him that he had been tricked. A poem says, "No one could stand against TsʻAo. Of sin he had full share, but Chu Yu was more treacherous and caught him in a snare." Two officers, to save their lives, betrayed a former lord soon after. As was very meet, both fell beneath the sword. The death of these two naval commanders caused much consternation in the camp, and all their colleagues asked the reason for their sudden execution. Though TsʻAo knew he had been victimized, he would not acknowledge it. So he said the two men had been remiss, and so had been put to death. The others were aghast, but nothing could be done. Two other officers, Mao and Yu by name, were put in command of the naval camp. Spies took the news to Chu Yu, who was delighted at the success of his ruse. "Those two were my only source of anxiety," said he. "Now they are gone, I am quite happy." Ruse said, "General, if you can continue like this, you need not fear TsʻAo." "I do not think any of them saw my game," said Chu Yu, "except Chuko Liang. He beats me, and I do not think this ruse was hidden from him. You go and sound him, see if he knew." Chu's treacherous plot succeeded well. Dissension sown, his rivals fell. Drunk with success was he, but sought to know what cynic K. Ungming thought. What passed between Lu Su and K. Ungming will next be related.